Welcome to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement, where planning meets purpose. Chad Slagle isn't just a financial professional, he's a coach dedicated to helping you take control of your financial future. With years of experience guiding families towards secure and fulfilling retirements, Chad is here to empower you with the tools, strategies, and confidence to make smart decisions with your hard-earned dollars. Coaching you to and through retirement isn't just his promise, it's his passion. This is the Chad Slagle Show. Now, let's hear from the coach.
Back with the coach, Chad Slagle. Always good to be with you. We got a big topic today. You ready for market conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's do it. With the markets hitting new highs, you'd think investors would be celebrating, but for many nearing or in retirement, it can actually feel pretty scary. Today, we're diving into why that is and what you can do about it. And Chad Slagle is with me once again. It's always an important conversation when we talk about the markets. With retirees, though, why do they feel a little more nervous and not as excited when it comes to markets?
Well, Amy, it really comes down to where you are in life. You know, when you're working and saving, market highs feel like a win. You check your account, see it's up, and think, great, I'm on track. You still have years of paychecks ahead of you. You're still contributing, hopefully still buying more shares. But when you're nearing retirement or you're already there, market highs create a little different emotion. Now the thought is, what if this is as good as it's going to get? Or what if the next move is down? And the fear is real because at this stage, people aren't trying to win the game, they're trying not to lose it. You know, when you're 62 or 67, you don't have 25 years to recover from a 30 to 40% correction. You don't have the luxury of time. So market highs can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, even if the view is beautiful.
Chad, it sounds like people aren't necessarily afraid of the growth. We're just afraid of giving it back. That makes total sense.
Absolutely. You know, market highs are only fun if you don't need the money anytime soon. You know, if you're 5 or 10 years from retirement, a big drop can be a wake-up call. If you're already retired, it can be a little life-altering because now you're taking income out while the account is moving up and down, and that's where sequence of return risk comes into play. Even if the market drops early in retirement while you're withdrawing it, can permanently damage your plan. So when the market is high, retirees start thinking, am I positioned correctly? Do I have too much at risk? And is my income protected?
You talk a lot about the shift from accumulation to preservation. Those are two big words, but they're very important when it comes to retirement. Take us through the change in our mindset that takes place.
Sure. You know, if you're in your 30s and 40s, you're in the accumulation mode. Volatility is your friend. Your dollar cost averaging and market drops mean you're buying shares at a discount. So when the market comes back up, you have an even bigger return. But as you approach retirement, the goal shifts to preservation. Now the question becomes, how do I hold on to what I've built? How do I turn it into a reliable income? And how do I make sure this money lasts as long as I do? You know, market highs can feel dangerous if you're still invested like you were at 40, but you're 62 or 65 years of age. So this strategy has to change and evolve as you change and evolve and as you get closer to retirement or once you are in retirement.
Okay, speaking of that, let's just give an example. How does strategy change for someone who's even just 6 months from retiring versus someone who is a few years down the road into that retirement phase?
Well, great question. Someone 6 months from retirement needs to be extremely careful and have caution. You know, a 20 or 25% drop right before they turn on income can totally change your timeline. You know, if you have $1 million, you lose 20%, your $1 million is no longer $1 million, now it's 800,000 or less. So it could force them to delay retirement. Somebody already retired needs clarity around one thing. Where is my paycheck coming from? Is it market dependent or is it structured and reliable? And the common thread is this: one strategy does not fit every stage. You have to know where you are and you have to adjust accordingly to that plan and where you are at that phase of life, whether it's 62, 65, or 72.
Okay, and I know there's so much to talk about when it comes to this topic. How is your team guiding someone who's coming into the office, they're sitting down, and they don't maybe have the understanding that things are going to be changing when they get into retirement?
Well, I think the question is, the question they need to ask is all of these questions. You know, when do you want to retire? How much income do you have coming in? And that's what we talk about in our discovery meeting, exactly what that looks like. And then once we find that out, then we can guide them a little bit. The other thing is constantly reviewing. As we talk about all the time, life happens. You know, what you are, where you're at now may be different 3 or 6 months down the road. Something could have happened. Maybe you're helping out a child. Maybe somebody got sick. Maybe you're wanting to, you know, buy another home. Maybe you're wanting to spend more money than you thought you were going to have to. So a lot of these things change. Even with inflation, you may have to spend more money on a thing of eggs or milk than you did when you retired. So a lot of those things you have to take into consideration and be willing to change with the plan.
None of us saw the egg prices. We didn't see that one coming at all, or we might not have seen it. But so you're helping them with the clarity of putting together this plan. And you mentioned coming in often and making those changes. How often?
Well, we meet with our clients. It really depends, right? I mean, if there's a lot of volatility in the market, you may be meeting with them every month or at least a phone call. It could be every 3 to 6 months. Sometimes people say, hey, I just want to meet every 12 months. So really, it depends on the individual and how often they want to meet and how much care they need. Some people need a lot. Some people don't need much. It really, what we do is not only do we build the plan for the client where they're at, but also we meet with that client as often as they want to meet and what guidance they need. Some need more than others.
That is good to know, because I think we probably have some viewers right now saying, you know, I need to come in about every few weeks.
Right, and some advisors don't want to call you because the market's down, you've lost money, I don't want to talk to you because you might be upset. You definitely don't want to be working with that advisor if that's the approach that they're taking.
Yeah, good point to make. All right, very good. When we return, we'll talk about what happens when you don't need income from your accounts, but the IRS says you have to take it anyway. Stay with us. The Chad Slagle Show continues right after this.
In life, it's good to know what you have to work with. Knowing how many nails you have before building that birdhouse. Knowing how much sugar you have before starting to bake the cake. But do you know how much income you'll be able to count on in retirement? Retirement savings are one thing, but knowing how those savings can turn into income is another. Are you confident you know what your retirement income will look like? Call our team and get a free income analysis today. We can show you what you might expect for income in retirement. Find out now so you won't have to wander later. Call for your free analysis today.
Hi, I'm Chad Slagle. At Slagle Financial, we know retirement isn't one size fits all, and it shouldn't feel like guesswork. That's why we created our Slagle Financial GPS, a step-by-step process that helps you build a custom blueprint for retirement. Whether you're focused on protecting your income, leaving a legacy, or simply gaining peace of mind, we'll walk with you every step of the way. Don't leave your future to chance. Schedule a visit with our team, and let's get you successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show. I'm Amy Sharp here with Chad Slagle, the coach, and we're talking about why market highs can feel so uncomfortable in retirement. You ready to jump right back into this one?
You bet.
Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about a scenario that we see a lot. You're retired, you don't need the income from your qualified accounts, but all that money is still sitting there. What's the problem, Chad?
Well, on the surface, it feels like a great problem to have, right? Your account is high, you don't need the money, you're thinking, well, let it grow, right? But here's the issue. That money has never been taxed. 401ks, traditional IRAs, and other qualified accounts are really partnerships with the IRS. In other words, the IRS allowed you to save tax on the seed so they can tax the crop. You know, you've been deferring taxes for decades. Eventually, they want their share. And that's what happens. Now you got to start drawing that money out at some point.
And that's where RMDs come in, required minimum distributions.
Exactly. At age 73 now, the IRS says it's time to start taking money out. They don't ask if you need it. They don't care if the market is up or down. They just tell you how much you have to take. And if you have a large balance, especially after years of market growth, that RMD or that required distribution can be shocking when you figure out how much you have to draw out.
I think you might have made the point, they don't ask you, they don't care. Maybe that's why required distributions can create so much stress. What else?
Well, they create a domino effect. You know, RMDs increase your taxable income. They can push you into a higher tax bracket. It can increase your Medicare premiums, and it can cause more of your Social Security to be taxed. So market highs feel really good until you realize they're also increasing your future tax bills. People don't see this coming until they're already 73 and forced into it.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit, Chad, and go back to what people need to be thinking that, say, are years before they need to take those RMDs out, before they hit that age.
Yeah, you definitely want to be proactive, and this is where proactive planning changes everything. You want to think ahead and ask, how do I control when and how I pay tax. So you're in control of it, not the IRS. That you know what I mean, with strategic withdrawals before 73, maybe some Roth conversions, spreading tax liability over lower income years, or repositioning assets. Waiting until the IRS forces your hand is not a strategy, but control is a strategy that hopefully you have over the IRS a little bit.
That would be a great feeling. So market highs added together with large qualified accounts, it seems like it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, would you say?
Yeah, it is. I mean, growth is great, but growth without a tax strategy can create future problems. You know, retirement is not just about how much you have, it's about how much you get to keep. You know, when you understand the tax side, market highs become an opportunity, not a threat.
How much of this are you diving into in your book, Winning in Retirement? I know every topic that we bring to the table here is probably covered in that book.
Yeah.
But how extensive does that go?
Well, a lot of people think, you know, when I turn 73, I'm going to have to start drawing all this money out and all my money is going to disappear, right? Really, all that you have to draw out at age 73 is around 3.7% of your money. Now, every year you get older, though, your life expectancy becomes less, so you have to draw more and more out. So really, it's about educating yourself, and as we just talked about, being proactive and know what those numbers are, how much you have to draw out way before you turn 73 years of age. You really need to start thinking about that maybe 3 to 5 years before you retire so you can start tax planning. The other problem is what we have to understand is tax rates are probably going to be a lot higher 5-10 years from now. So you may want to do some tax planning now, especially if you have large qualified accounts, 401ks, IRAs, and other qualified accounts that you have your monies in. You know, be proactive way before that time does come.
A lot of times on this show, we would maybe say to our viewers, you know, block out the noise. Don't listen to all the social media all the time. Don't watch all the stories coming out of Washington. But in this instance with RMDs, they've changed so much over the last several years. We've got another one coming.
Yes.
We really have to stay on top of it. Also have an advisor by our side that can guide us through this. But this is kind of also a double-edged sword.
Yeah, with the Secure Act, you know, it was take your RMD at 7.5, and then it was 72. Now it's 73. And if I'm a betting man, it's probably going to change again. Because again, what you have to understand, the IRS wants that money back. You know, we have over what, 40 trillion dollars in debt right now. So they have to start taking some of that money back. Who has the money? The people who are retired or the people that are getting ready to retire. So again, it's about educating yourself and finding those areas where it can save you and your family, hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars over time.
And did we mention penalties? Did you talk about that? How the penalties have lessened with RMDs, but it's still there.
Absolutely, they're still there. So you have to know the numbers and be proactive and really take a look at when to draw it out. Should you wait? Should you take it now? It depends on who you are, what your situation is, and how much money you need coming in when you retire.
Okay, good opportunity as we close out this segment to take us through that financial GPS just one more time. We can reiterate this all the time with our viewers because it's always got to be there. You got to have that plan in place, and so many people do not have a plan ready.
Yeah, when we talk about the Schlegel Financial GPS, it's about starting with the discovery. Then once we figure out where you're at, what you want to accomplish, and where you want to be in retirement, then we put together that blueprint and start building that foundation so you can have a clear understanding of what retirement looks like for you and make sure it's structured so it doesn't matter if you live to be 75 or 105, you know you have a game plan that's going to last throughout retirement.
Yeah, we're putting those plans out a little further in the age category because people are living longer. You got to be prepared. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chad. Up next, we'll talk about what a good retirement portfolio actually looks like and why it's not just about stocks and bonds anymore. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Your dream car, the open road, and freedom is just one turn away. Or so you thought. Even when things look good, hidden problems can ruin your plans. Think of your retirement. At first glance, your investments might seem solid, but under the hood, what kind of risk are you exposed to? And what about taxes, income, healthcare costs? Don't let your retirement dreams stall out. Act now and get your free risk analysis to help keep you.
They say knowledge is power. Whatever you're doing, whatever your goals are, you'll probably never say you know too much. The same is true with retirement. The more you know, the more prepared you'll be for everything in store. And we've made it easy to get started. This free offer is packed with knowledge to help answer some of retirement's biggest questions. It's our gift to you. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Act now. and claim your free offer today.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show. I'm Amy Sharp alongside the coach, Chad Slagle. Back with me. We're here helping you navigate retirement investing. Now we're going to talk about portfolio construction. This is a big topic. And when we think about putting together a good portfolio, that's the ultimate goal, a lot of times we hear of the 60-40 stocks and bonds mix. Is that still the answer today?
I would say for most retirees today, it's not. That model was built for a completely different era. Interest rates were higher, people lived shorter retirements, and taxes were a lot different back then. Today, retirement can last 25, 35, or maybe even 40 years. You're dealing with market volatility, longevity risk, tax risk, and of course, healthcare costs. So you need income, risk management, and flexibility, not just an asset allocation percentage. 60-40 could be a good starting point, but it's not a complete retirement strategy.
Okay, if it's not just about stocks and bonds, what should people be thinking about?
Well, people should be thinking in buckets, not just investments, but purpose. Every dollar in retirement should have a job. Some money is for safety. Some money is for income. Some money should be for growth, and hopefully some money should be for legacy. And when everything is lumped together in one big account, people don't know what's safe and what's at risk. That uncertainty is what makes market highs feel very scary for a lot of individuals, because when the income you need every month is dependent on the markets, that can be a scary thing.
Okay, you're a coach, Chad. You understand goals. Let's talk about different goals. What if someone needs to draw that income from their portfolio in order to live on it?
Well, the income reliability is the top priority, or it should be, and you need to know, where is the paycheck coming from? How long will it last? Again, hopefully the rest of your life, no matter how long you live, and whether it's guaranteed or is it market dependent? Because hope is not a strategy when you're paying the bills, right? And if your income depends entirely on selling shares, then a market drop can force you to sell low. And that's how people dig a hole that they can't get out of. A strong retirement portfolio creates an income that is not fully dependent on market performance, which is key.
Okay, what if someone doesn't need the income right now? I think there's people out there right now saying that very thing. What if I don't need this?
Well, that doesn't mean you don't need nothing. You still need to think about future income, tax planning, risk management, and eventually those required minimum distributions that we talked about. Just because you don't need the money today doesn't mean you won't need it tomorrow. Market highs are a great time to reassess risk. They're a great time to maybe rebalance, and they're a great time to lock in some gains strategically. Discipline is what turned market highs into opportunity.
Okay, this is a very real something that people think about, and that is legacy. What if our main goal is leaving that legacy?
Well, then that strategy shifts again. As I mentioned earlier, life happens. Now you're thinking long-term growth. Maybe you're thinking about tax efficiency, looking at taxes at a macro level, not a micro level, and how your money transfers to the next generation, or maybe it's you're a charity or a church. Different assets transfer differently. Qualified money passes with tax consequences. Roth IRA accounts pass tax-free, and brokerage accounts, they may receive a step up in basis. Without a plan, your heirs could lose a significant portion to taxes. So with a plan, you can be intentional with what that looks like.
What I think I hear you saying throughout this segment is there really is no one right mix. Would you say?
Exactly. I would say, cookie cutter portfolios and approaches fail in retirement because people aren't cookie cutter. Some may need income. Some may need income later, not now. Some are focused on legacy. Some are focused on maximizing experiences and spending it all before they leave it to their kids. Your portfolio should reflect your goals, not a generic model. And I think that's what's key. We're all different.
Oh, absolutely. Take us back to why this kind of goes back to market highs feeling so scary, and take us through that.
Well, it's simple. If you don't know what your money is designed to do, every market move feels threatening. You're scared, right? You're watching the markets all the time. If you don't know where your income is coming from, every dip feels personal. If you don't have a tax plan, every gain feels temporary. But when you have a structured plan, when you know your income is covered, when you know your risk is appropriate, and when you know your tax strategy is thought through, market highs don't feel scary. You don't have to watch the markets all the time. They feel manageable, and I think that's what key. In retirement, you should not have to worry about if the market goes up or if the market goes down.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Retirement is not about chasing the next high, or it shouldn't be. It's about building stability. It's about having control, and it's about confidence. Market highs aren't the problem. A lack of a strategy and structure is the problem.
Is that easier said than done? What you just mentioned, chasing the next high for some people, they're driven that way. They're kind of programmed that way.
Yeah, I mean, we talk to people all the time. They love, especially a lot of our clients who are engineers. They love getting on their computer in their basement every morning and watching that market go up and that market go down, and they like to trade. The problem is the missus may not like to go in the basement and trade all the time. So you want to make sure that if you have some fun money you're doing that with, that's fine, but do not bet your whole retirement on that.
Why did I know you're going to get to that point about the missus? Because we hear these stories, and you and I have talked about this on the show before, where yes, maybe you've done a great job budgeting and all the things during your working years, but do you ultimately want to spend your time doing this in retirement? There's more out there.
There is a lot more out there, but you would be surprised at some people that want to do that. Now, most of the missuses, if you're married to an engineer, you don't want to do that, but you understand how the engineer, his mind works. Yep. Absolutely right. They love to do that. But again, it's your responsibility that if you love to do that, that's fine. But God forbid if something happens to you, you better make sure that your spouse is taken care of as well.
Very good point. Solid to end that. All right. Thank you so much, Chad. After the break, we're heading to the Coach's Corner, where Chad will tie all of this together and give you some practical steps to take away from today's show. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
More is usually better, but not when it comes to taxes in retirement. Tax rates might seem high right now, but these could be the lowest rates you ever see again. Think how that could impact your retirement. The good news is there are strategies you can take advantage of now to help lower your tax bill later and help get the most out of what you've saved for retirement. But don't delay. Time is limited and rates could rise soon. So act now to get your free tax analysis. Help uncover hidden savings and optimize your income in retirement. Take action and claim your free tax analysis now.
Retirement planning shouldn't feel like guesswork. I'm Chad Schlegel, and that's why we created the Schlegel Financial GPS, our step-by-step guided planning system. It's not a cookie-cutter approach, it's a customized roadmap built around your goals, designed to bring clarity to your investments, protect what matters most, and help you navigate tax and income with confidence. Take the first step, come meet our team and discover how the Schlegel Financial GPS can guide you to and through retirement. Call today, your future starts now.
We're back for our final segment of the Chad Schlegel Show. It's time now for the Coach's Corner. Chad, take it away.
Thank you, Amy. Market highs can feel surprisingly unsettling for people in retirement. And there's a really important reason for that. When you've spent decades working hard, building your savings and making smart choices, suddenly seeing those account balances at all-time highs should feel like a victory lap. But so many retirees, or those almost retired, it actually creates a pit in the stomach. They're not thinking about how much more money they can make. They're worried about how much they could lose and whether their entire retirement plans could change if the market takes a turn. I talk with families every day and every week who come into my office with the same concerns. They want to know, am I going to be okay? Will I be able to enjoy the retirement I've always pictured, or am I just one market drop away from having to go back to work or scale back my retirement plans? That fear is a powerful force, and if you feel it, you're not alone. Let me leave you with 3 key takeaways from everything we've discussed today. These are lessons learned from years of helping people navigate every kind of market and every kind of retirement. Takeaway number 1. Market highs require a completely different mindset in retirement. In your working years, market ups and downs are just noise, if anything. You hope for lower prices so you can buy more shares, but once you're retired, every dollar in your portfolio means something different. It represents years of sacrifice, and now it also represents your future paychecks. When the market is soaring, the temptation is to keep riding that wave, but that's not always the safest move. In retirement, your first priority needs to be preservation, not just growth. Imagine climbing a mountain. Getting to the summit is exciting, but the most dangerous part is actually coming down. In financial terms, this means you need to protect what you've built so you can turn your savings into a lasting, predictable income. That's why you'll hear us stress the importance of shifting out of pure growth mode and into an approach designed to provide stability, especially as you begin taking withdrawals. Takeaway number 2. Large qualified accounts like those 401ks or traditional IRAs you've been contributing to for years can create significant tax challenges if you don't plan ahead. It's easy to look at those balances and think of them as yours, but the truth is you have a silent partner. It's called the IRS. Those required minimum distributions, the RMDs, don't care what the market is doing or whether you want the money. Once you reach the age the IRS specifies, you're forced to start taking money out, whether or not you need it. And if you haven't prepared, those distributions can push you into a higher tax bracket, raise your Medicare premiums, and increase the taxes on your Social Security benefits. The effect can be like a domino. One move triggers another until you're dealing with much higher taxes than you expected. I've worked with people who were shocked when this happened because they didn't realize the rules would change so abruptly. The good news is you do have control if you're proactive. Strategies like Roth conversions, tax-efficient withdrawals, and rebalancing accounts can help you manage and sometimes even reduce your future tax burden. But waiting until the IRS comes knocking is almost always too late to act. Takeaway number 3, a good retirement portfolio isn't about following a cookie-cutter formula. It should be tailored to your unique goals, whether that's reliable income, maybe long-term growth, leaving a financial legacy for your family, or a mix of all three. There isn't one-size-fits-all rule that works for everyone anymore, especially in a world where interest rates change, markets are unpredictable, and everyone's vision of retirement is different. For some, the focus should be on generating stable, consistent cash flow to cover monthly expenses. For others, it's about making sure their nest egg grows to keep up with inflation or support the next generation. I encourage you to sit down either on your own or with a professional and get really clear about what you want your money to do for you. Only then can you build a strategy that gives you true peace of mind no matter what the markets are doing. So if you take nothing else away from our time together today, remember this: retirement is truly a journey, not just a single destination. The markets will go up and the markets will go down, and that's guaranteed. But with the right plan, a focus on preservation, proactive tax strategies, and a portfolio designed just for your needs, you can face that uncertainty with confidence. Don't let fear drive your decisions. Instead, let a good strategy carry you through. You've worked too hard for too long to risk it now. With the proper guidance, you can navigate any market and enjoy the retirement you deserve. I know that sounds great, but there's one thing to keep in mind. It's not going to happen on its own. If you want the benefit of a retirement plan, you're going to need to make one. That's where my team comes in. I want you to see this as your formal invitation to meet with me and my team and see what the Schlegel Financial GPS can do for you and your family. Come meet with me and my team for a no-cost, no-obligation review and see how prepared you truly are for the retirement you deserve. You don't have to have everything organized. You don't have to understand the complicated financial jargon. It would be a simple, casual conversation about you, your family, your future, and your retirement goals. If that sounds like something that could get you on track toward the life you want, then let's sit down and talk. Thanks for watching our show this week. Amy, back to you.
Excellent advice, Chad. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on the Chad Schlegel Show. We'll see you next time as we coach you to and through retirement.